Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible Tidbits YouTube channel. Today we have another update on my journey to learning biblical Hebrew. I'm in chapter 6 of the textbook. It is week 5 of my class. We had 1 week where we covered 2 chapters, and it's going well. There's still some difficulties, as always. I'm back studying a lot, trying to maintain what we've learned. Some things I'm struggling to see the significance of. But I'm starting to get it as we go. I have a Zoom meeting tonight where I'm going to ask some questions about, okay, why is this significant? Where does this go? Because that helps me to learn as I go. Is what's the purpose of this learning? So how's this going to help me with the language? So that's what I'm working on now. As I said last update, I'm going to try to do some reading for you. So let me switch my screen here and go right here. Okie doke. I'm going to just do this number 1 here. It says, Yesh Navi B'Yisrael. Yesh Navi B'Yisrael. So Yesh, there is. Navi, prophet. So there is a prophet. The B right there, that means in. So there is a prophet in Israel. So the ba is like a prefix on places. So in Israel is ba Yisrael. And so we got Yesh Navi ba Israel. There is a prophet in Israel. So getting a little bit there. I can do a little more, but we're not going to burn up time on that. Maybe in the future we'll spend some time. We haven't actually got to a technical verse. He hasn't given us a verse as a, hey, translate this scripture. I've read some scripture, and there's been some I've seen like, hey, I think I know almost all of that verse. But he hasn't given us one for the class. I remember in my Greek class, my beginning Greek, starting out, like John 1:1, or 1 John, the beginning, chapter 1 of 1 John. Those are passages where I go to, and I could tell you. I could almost quote John 1, like, in it tu halagos, kai halagos, in it tu prostante on halagos. Something similar to that. Just because I read it so much. And so I'm excited to get a verse like that in the Hebrew. I do have an extra credit opportunity towards the end of the class if I can remember all of Psalm chapter 1 in Hebrew and recite it. But one thing that's been helping me out a lot in my studying is obviously flashcards. But as you can tell, these flashcards look pretty good. They look way too good to be handwritten, and that's because they are not. So there's Jerusalem, Jerusalem. So what these are is a company called Avery. Makes a lot of different labels and stuff for printers, and they actually have a note card set you can buy. And what these are is it does 3 to a page. And how it does it is they're just like this on the page. You download the template, and then you can insert it in there, and then you print it out, and then it's got perforated edges, so you just tear it out. So you start off with a whole sheet. I'll just put those on there backwards. You start off with a whole sheet of paper, and you download their free template and just type it up, and then you can they just break off essentially. Then you have note cards. Writing things out is helpful. I have been writing out Hebrew on my iPad, just like write it out, erase it, write it out, erase it for practice. But I found that I was struggling to recognize my own Hebrew writing, and vocab is important, so I wanted to get it like that. So I'm still working on writing and just seeing differences in font. It's kind of interesting. At the beginning of a language, font is the most difficult thing, because you read it in one font in the textbook, then maybe you go to a different font in the Bible, like a Greek Bible or Hebrew Bible. Then you go to your handwritten font, and it gets confusing at the beginning. Now, once you're kind of a native to the language, like, that's nothing. That's easy, right? Just with English, and some people are better. For example, my wife and my mom are both kindergarten teachers, so they can read some of the most crazy writing that I can't read, just because they're so used to just seeing all these variants of it. But at the beginning of a language, you're not, and so it's even more difficult. So that's what I got these. I will link these Avery note card sets down below, And if you're interested in picking that up, and like I said, I've got a pretty good stack of them here. Obviously, it's not as cheap as buying a 100 pack of note cards at Walmart, but it's helpful, and I found it beneficial. I watched out Prime Day. Some of them went on sale, so I bought a good amount. I think hopefully enough to get me through the class. If not, I can buy another set. They come in. I mean, it's an 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11 page. You just stick it in the printer. Free download for their template. But a important part of this was having a digital version of the vocab, and that's where my logos, which is what we're here. This is my workbook here. Let me see if I can open up the textbook right here. So here you can see my textbook. Let me drag it. So I have my textbook right here in logos, and are we in? Here's the vocab section. So I just highlight a word and copy. Then I go into my Microsoft Word and paste, and then I will do 3 words because there's 3 note cards per thing. So I'll do 3 Hebrew words. I'll come back in the next page, do 3 definitions. 3 Hebrew words, 3 definitions. I'll just do that over and over and over till I get them. And then what I do is I print front and back. And so the front will be the Hebrew word. The back will end up being the definition. The only thing about this for me, this might not apply to you if you're doing Hebrew a different way than me, but I started noticing it when I was working ahead, and then last week in my Zoom meeting, my professor, he made it obvious to me, but the Logos edition of my textbook, this one right here, has a lot of typos. And I was starting to think that it had a lot of typos, but then I just wasn't sure if it was just my ignorance to the language. And I was getting confused, and I was just wondering if maybe whenever I was copy pasting some stuff, Microsoft just didn't like the Hebrew and it was struggling there. But he came out and said, he's like, I didn't have anything to do with the Logos edition. Somebody else made that and they did a terrible job. There's so many typos, and he told us buy the physical book. It's fully approved by him. He didn't say what he said. There's probably a typo, but nothing that's going to affect your learning. He said, but the Logos edition is going to affect your learning. So that's something I have to watch out for. So I usually have my physical textbook right here open on my desk as I'm copy pasting, and as I'm going through the vocab, I'm double checking. There's a few of my vocab where like it's supposed to be a one letter and it's another, like a aleph, daleth, like a daleth, that whenever I paste it over, it's a resh. So I just take my Sharpie and I can adjust that, or put a heth instead of a tau, and there's just a little mark difference. Or it'll miss a small accent, like a holum or something, then that's easy to just go insert yourself. So that's what I've been doing. Not perfect, of course, because of all the typos and loads. It'd be easy if I just didn't have to worry, copy, paste over. But that is a struggle. So I'll link these down below if you want to type up your own vocab. Obviously, this goes for a lot more than just Hebrew, too. I had an easier time handwritten in Greek. My Greek stuff, too, there tends to be more Greek ready-made vocab cards. I couldn't find any. They did say there was a Quizlet deck keyed to our textbook, but I like some other apps that just did not have it. So that's what I'm doing for my vocab right now, studying that hard. For all my other study, I just study straight from the textbook. Just read and reread. There's lots of charts and stuff we're getting into that just kind of have to be memorized, and I'm just trying to memorize them straight from the textbook. So like diagrams like that right there, get it focused in. You just have to remember, okay, your syllable, is it unaccented or accented, and just kind of work your way through the flow chart is what I've been having to do. But I've just been trying to memorize that using just straight from the textbook, not trying to come up with some other thing. I'm just going through reading the textbook. There's definitions in the textbook. I'm just using it and reading them. So starting to get a good grasp. We covered verbs a little bit. We started covering gender and some of the shifts that these words make. From what I understand, it's not typical to do this early on, but Dr. Garrett believes it's very helpful to start this early on. So we will see, but I'll take his word for it on that. So that's kind of where I'm at with Hebrew. Getting big stack of vocab. I can read verbs are coming along. I'm starting to find the shifts and things and learning the different parts of the syllable, which I'm sure is going to come in handy later. Not sure exactly why I'm learning that yet. So hopefully next time in 2 weeks I will report to you why I'm learning some of this stuff. And maybe by then I'll have an actual verse instead of just kind of a made up sentence to share with you. So thanks for joining me as I begin to learn Hebrew. It's fun. It's kind of cool whenever you're reading like a commentary and it quotes a Hebrew word. You're like, hey, I can kind of read that. The other day I had one, I actually knew the word. It was one of my vocab words. So I was really excited for that. So thank you all for joining me on this journey to learn Biblical Greek. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss the next update. And I hope to see y'all next time.